has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, Carver High, that I was just seeing the Steph Curry stuff, and 4 titles, 6 finals in 9 years. It's got to be absolutely brutal for him to, frankly, be on a loser. They are a loser now, and that's all there is to it. When you're 10th and you're the play-in 10, you are a loser. I don't care what anybody says. Those are the phoniest playoff games in history. It's just the NBA's way of making money. What we're going to do is we're going to have an in-season tournament. We're going to crown a phony champion. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a bunch of teams to the playoffs. We're going to have a phony play-in tournament, and we're going to get everybody's attention. And the reality of what it is it's garbage. That's what it is. It's garbage. And you watched his garbage-ass team last night lose, and it has to be brutal for him. There's nothing worse than losing. There's nothing worse. Losing is the worst thing ever. It really is. Ask any pro or any player or anyone that's a competitor or an athlete. If all you do is lose, you're miserable. You are miserable. That guy, to me, last night looked so miserable, that he was losing now. And then all this talk about he has to play with his guys, I think it's just a load of shack, because I don't think he wants to play with them anymore because he knows he'll never win again with them.
Look, I agree with you 100. I agree with you 100%. He looked absolutely miserable last night. They looked miserable aside from him. I just felt like the entire night he was trying to drag him there, right? He was trying, but he just couldn't do it all by himself last night. Clay missed a billion shots, and everybody else wasn't that good. He was over.
How about this? Do you agree with me or not? And I know I was wrong. I'm wrong 30 times a day, as you know, on average. Yeah. Do you agree with me that I had rode that Steve Kerr was going to retire for a year? He looks so old to me and tired of coaching, tired of Draymond Green's antics, tired of all of it. And then, I thought he would coach the Olympics in Paris and then walk away from the NBA, and that would be it. With all those rings and all those titles, all those championships in Chicago and Golden State and an Olympic gold medal, I thought he would walk away. I cannot fathom that he re-signed a 2-year extension to keep coaching that crappy team in San Francisco. They're crap. I don't care what anybody says. That's a crappy team, and that's all there is to it. And you can sit there and watch Curry shoot threes all effing day long, and they're still not winning. They got him now, and they don't win.
They got him now, and they don't win. We do welcome in all of our radio affiliates from Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM 159 and Sports Byline. I want to get back into this with you later because I think he's got some decisions to make, Scotty, because he's 36 years old.
Yeah.
He's not completely done because what never goes away, right? I mean, look, it goes away, but physically, standing there and shooting, right? He's always
going to do that all day.
He can do that all day shooting. And he's 36. I think he's got a 2 or 3 year more window where in the right situation, maybe there's one more run for him. The problem is, I don't think it's where he is right now. And I think he's the guy that maybe should think about some options if he can, and they just blow that entire thing up there. What a hell of a run. 1 titles. Because I don't think they can rebuild it there in the next 3 or 4 years while he's going to be 40 years old. I don't think that's what they can do. I think he needs to find a spot where he can win again. And I got some ideas for you later, and we'll see if maybe we can get those around.
I agree with you. I think I think it's very poignant. I think you're right.
Let me get through these for you. Phillies and the Rockies last night, 5-0. We just heard Scoop Mish talking about Bryce Harper, Scotty. Well, then why don't we just set it up here for you? Bryce Harper last night, NBC Sports Philadelphia, big fly against the Rockies.
Line drive deep to right field. It is gone! Two-run home run for Harper. 3 RBIs in the game, and the Phillies take a 5-0 lead.
I got to be honest with you, though. I certainly don't question Craig, but I question Bryce Harper's body. I do not believe that he's any more, able to avoid it than Judge, Stanton, Rizzo. These guys get injured every single year like clockwork. So does Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is always getting injured, always missing time. I do not believe for 1 minute that he can go belly to belly. Not 1 minute. I'm just waiting for the inevitable. He goes down every year for giant chunks, 2 months. He's going down at some point. He always does. I mean, the truth, truth's in the pudding. Like, take a good look. Every year, it's every year. So I think he's, I told you, I don't know how many times I've said this. He's like my favorite player. I think he's fantastic. I go to Philadelphia, to Citizens. I go watch the guy play. I sit behind home plate. I buy tickets to watch this guy take 5 at-bats. He's worth the price of admission. I love him, but I don't believe in his body at all.
The Rays beat the Angels last night 7-6 in 13 innings. That was a crazy game. Another crazy extra inning game was Cleveland, Scotty, who, by the way, best road record in baseball so far this year. The Guardians are 9-2 away from Cleveland, and they did it again last night at Fenway. They've beat them there 2 days in a row. Jose Ramirez in the 11th, putting them ahead. AM 1100 AM Cleveland radio.
And the next delivery, swung on, smashed up the middle, a base hit. Hitting third is Quan. He's being waved home. Here's the throw by Rafaela to the plate. It's high. Sliding in is Quan. Dives back after missing the plate. Slaps the plate, and the Guardians take the lead. And on an 0-2 pitch, Ramirez delivers an RBI single. Cleveland up 8-7.
Good call by the guy. Like, there's some passion.
Nice. It's always good when we get some of that around here, that's for sure. And one more injury notes. I always do injury corner with you now because it seems like it's every day in baseball. Ozzie Albies, 10-day IL for the Braves.
Vacation.
So he's going to be on the shelf. Vacation time for him. So those 3 games we just talked about, they're all the only 3 games tonight. Rockies are in Philadelphia again against the Phillies, minus 225 with Sanchez on the mound. Feltner's going for Colorado. Total's a flat 8.
I laid a 1.5 this morning and bet the Phillies. I hit them last night at a 1.5 as well.
Rays and the Angels again at the Trop. Detmers and Littell, minus 120 for Tampa. Even money for the Angels, 8.5 here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Angels tonight. And I gave you the Rays last night. I'm going Angels back. It was a wild game last night. I'll take the Angels this time.
And the Guardians, as we said, again at Fenway tonight. It's lively against Tanner Houck. Red Sox are minus 130, 8.5 the total.
I mean, why would I bet on the Red Sox? They went west and won all those games. They came east, and they've had nothing but bad luck and losses, one after the next. Extra inning games, Patriot Day, Devers. I mean, you name it. What bad news haven't they had lately? They're like me, nothing but bad news.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Harbor High has just convinced me, and with much pushing, to run for governor of Indiana. Going to run for governor of Indiana, the great Hoosier state. Anyone can win. There's no traffic there, no stress, no taxes. I mean, there are taxes there, but their idea of taxes and our idea of taxes are two different worlds, Harbor High. And I may very well do what you asked, run for governor.
Well, it's maybe you time that you shift into public service. That could be exactly the way for you. You kind of the final chapter. You go and you do that. An elected official when you're done here. People will, and you know what happens to all those elected officials too. Like whenever you're running for office, this will probably happen to you. Everybody digs up all the stuff you said back in the day, and they'll find. Oh, yeah. Probably plenty of it for you back in the 90s. And they're going to find all sorts of clips of you, Scotty. So maybe you shouldn't run for political office. You don't dig all that up.
And the suits that I work for now, they're the ones that have been digging up the stuff on me. They're like throwing stuff back to the press. And this guy's nothing but bad news. He's a horrible person. He's got a bad heart. He's got his blood in his urine. Horrible.
By the way, I'm going to get into the NBA now. Yankees are losing 2-0 in Toronto as Varsho hit a homer for the Blue Jays.
Anything else
so they're not off to a good start in that one. The Lakers, despite everybody wanting them to lose to the Pelicans last night, they do beat them 110-106. Good games, guy. Lakers were up big in the second half. Pelicans made a huge surge behind Zion before he got hurt. But they come up short, 1-point game with just under a minute to go. D'Lo getting involved in the corner on TNT.
Reeves drives and feeds corner three. Russell, bullseye! What a shot! Big time three by Russell for D'Angelo Russell.
So I had to tell you that, remember, these are the same people that have been talking about trading this guy for literally since the time he came back to the Lakers. The first time he was with the Lakers, he was a little backstabber, immature, talking about other players' wives and who's sleeping with who. And they ran him out of LA, and he was vilified. Then they brought him back because he's a good player. And now he's a great player. And they still talk about trading him all the time. Let's get rid of D'Lo at the deadline. Well, the smart people didn't get rid of him, whether that's Jeannie Buss or Pelinka. I don't know who it is. All I know is they are not the same team without that guy on the floor. Between LeBron, D'Lo, and Davis, that's it. That's all they need. I know they love to sell this white mamba BS that Reeves and all this other, Hachimura and all this other stuff. It's Russell. Did you see that deep corner pocket dagger three in the Pelicans bench? He was literally Santa Claus sitting on laps in their bench when he shot that ball, and it had Teardrop City, and he nailed it. Then he talked some smoke to him because he's a badass. Here's an idea. Don't trade or get rid of great players.
Don't trade or get rid of great players would absolutely be the theme. Let's hear from LeBron first, Scotty. Of course, the Lakers get the double in New Orleans. They win on Sunday. They win last night. And now they're going to get ready for the Nuggets. LeBron's not quite ready to get into that yet. He wants to enjoy this one first.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Denver, but, this was a long-ass road trip. You almost forget that we was in Memphis before these two games. Tonight was definitely a playoff game. So getting your mind right, getting your body right, trying to get as much recovery we can before we have to go out there on Saturday. I'm not on the floor on Saturday versus Denver. That's the main thing.
Touch of gray, son. Did you see his interview last night after the game, and he had all that gray in his beard? Touch of gray, son. You got to get that cleaned up, as Adrian Broner would say to me. Clean it up. I got nothing but problems with the gray, too, Carver. You can see I've been letting it go a little bit.
Yeah, I have it.
I
have it too on the sides. That's why I get the sides cut.
I get it shaved off, but I'm not. I got people making fun of me now when I shave it off. You remember, you should hear this stuff. Mafia's heard of this. The abuse I take. It's awful.
Here is next, Laker head coach Darvin Ham. Of course, me and you discussed this on Monday, right? All the talking heads who said the Lakers should throw the game so they don't have to play Denver in the first round. Here was Darvin Ham being notified of all that.
There was a report of what?
It wasn't a report. It was TV talking stuff. It was that maybe
saying what again?
It'd be better off if you guys lost this game to avoid Denver in the first round to play.
Insane asylum sources say.
Sure.
Nah. If you
it wasn't sourced. It wasn't.
Okay.
It was just chatter.
Just someone that just got out of the insane asylum. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. Roll the dice.
Just to release these people.
Roll the dice.
I told you Monday, are you kidding me? I said to you Monday on this show, I said immediately 1.5 and even money. I mean, honestly, run to the BetMGM window and bet the Lakers. They're not throwing anything. And Sunday, they beat them by 20? I thought it'd be way worse than it was last night. It should have been. They were up 18. They let them back in the game. I thought the Lakers stopped playing for about 12 minutes, and then they finally said enough of this, and they won. And the reason they won the game was Anthony Davis and Russell. Davis got fouled every time he got the ball in his hands and made the free throws, and then he got every rebound. He got offensive rebound, putbacks. He did it all, and then Russell put the sprinkling touches on it. It was all about those two.
Well, they will have that tough matchup now with the defending champions beginning on Saturday night. This is for the series, Scotty. Series price minus 375 for the Nuggets, plus 3 bills if you think the Lakers can beat them in 7.
I don't think that the Denver Nuggets will sweep the Lakers. I do not believe that this year. So I'll say that at this point. I believe that the Lakers will steal a game or two against Denver because I think the Lakers are legit. I think that they're a dangerous team that have all kinds of pieces and size and skill. I mean, when you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Russell, and I could go on because, Hachimura, I'm not a gigantic fan of his or whatever, but I mean, no one's stopping him either. He's another long stretch player that can put it in the hole from outside or drive and dunk. They got it all. They got it all. I know Denver's great, and they won the chip. That's fine. That's dandy. I also know that Murray's missed a lot of time. I don't believe in his body right now. I think he's playing injured. And I don't, when you have to heap it all on Joker, then you're saying to me, now I know they have Gordon. I know they have Porter. Porter's, you can't tell me he's not stressed at some level for his brother getting thrown out of the NBA for life. Don't tell me they haven't had the family meeting or family phone conference call or the FaceTime call of, how could you do this to me? I'm getting ready to go for another championship, and look what you've done to our family name. Don't tell me that isn't a factor in this. I think that there's all kinds of reasons why I think the Lakers might steal a game or two and make it interesting.
I'm with you. I don't believe they'll get swept like they did a year ago.
No way.
I think that you'll see
I don't see it.
Because we've also seen Denver in the first round, at least the last couple of years, maybe not come out of the gate so hot. Didn't they lose a couple games to Minnesota last year and had to beat them in 6 or whatever it was, or that was the year before that? They've had some slow starts out of the gate in the first round. So we could see that. All right, after you talk to Davis, we'll come back. We'll get into the Warriors and the Kings from last night. And then 2 games tonight, Heat and the Sixers, Hawks and the Bulls, the Eastern Conference with their play-in games.
I won't deny Denver's really good and they won a chip. They do not remind me of teams that repeat and win a bunch of championships. I think they're one and done.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year. Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum has games where he has stinkers. He shoots a 4 for 16. Jaylen Brown in the playoffs gets exposed because he can't go left. Porzingis gets old. Sometimes Jrue Holiday's not consistent. Al Horford father time to catch up. That being said, I still think they're going to the NBA Finals and winning it. And I'm a Knicks fan. I hate the Celtics with all of my might.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
They're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis owns it. They beat them 5 straight times. And Memphis is awful. So what does that say about the Bucks? They are the most overrated team in the NBA, hands down.
Michigan and Boston College, there's going to be goals scored in this game. But, with that being stated, the total's up to 7.5 right now. I got to go under 7.5 here, Scott.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early
The
line.
magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
All right, we always love having Davis Maddock on. We're having him on the Lion's Share again today, and it's all brought to you by BetMGM. Their first bet offers $1,500. How do you get it? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app on iOS or Android or BetMGM.com. Sign up, deposit $10 in your new account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager has been settled. You can follow him on X at Davis Maddock, DavisMattek, just for your edification. Always good to see you, Davis. I want to start with this. Earlier, we were talking about Bryce Harper, and he hit the big two-run homer last night. The Phillies have been doing well in April, and there was talk today on SportsGrid by your boy, Scoop Mish, saying that he believes that Bryce Harper will be in the conversation for MVP. And I said on the show that he's, clearly one of my favorite players. I hate the Phillies dead, but I love Bryce Harper, and that I have been known to drive down there from New York to Philly to see games. I go to watch him play at least once or twice every summer. I enjoy watching the guy take 5 at-bats from, directly behind home plate. I like sitting right there on the net and watching this guy walk up to the plate and do his thing. But I don't believe in his body, and I don't believe he can stay healthy, and I don't believe he'll play an entire season, and that's why I don't think he'll win it.
Well, he's not had a 600 plate appearance season since 2021. That was the last time that he won MVP. 546 plate appearances last year. Did get some MVP votes. He struck out probably a bit too much last season. His walk rate is so high. In a weird way, his walk rate being so high might be one of the things that actually limits him from winning MVP, because his counting numbers don't get as high, even with how good he was last season. He didn't crest 70 RBIs. He didn't crest 85 runs scored. You kind of need to have insane counting numbers in that area in order to get there. Now, he started out the season healthy this year. He is in his age 31 season. That's when it's right about when we would expect guys to start getting a little bit worse, start having some physical skill decline, even if, in baseball, your mental acuity can get better. Then would I bet on Bryce Harper at current market prices to win MVP? I don't think I would. I appreciate Craig's point, because one of the things that could get him there would be if the Phillies won the National League East instead of the Atlanta Braves. The Braves really having trouble in the pitching department right now. No Strider. We'll see how healthy the rest of their guys are going to be able to stay. Not that optimistic about that. If the Phillies win like 97 games, if Harper leads the National League in home runs again, which he did in 2021, I definitely think he could get some votes, but I think I would rather just actually double down on Ohtani right now for NL MVP.
What did you think when you saw the story about the Bauer accuser being indicted for, what wasn't she indicted for? Fraud, you name it. All of her accusations against Trevor Bauer. She tried to strong arm him, squeeze him, blackmail him, everything in the world to steal money from him, anything to get money from him, including her accusations of sexual assault. What did you think when you saw the story flip on her? Now it's all her fault, and he's still destroyed. His life is destroyed by this chick. Any way you slice it, his life has been destroyed by this incident. He's a part of it. I won't deny that he, is guilty of, hooking up with her and doing his thing, which was horrible. What he did was, there's no denying it was crazy. But this chick behind the scenes was the one working the angle criminally. I mean, she was a bad seed. Fair enough. What did you think when you saw the story of her? She's going to jail.
She is going to jail. But remember, it was not just one accuser. There was another accuser at the time that submitted documentation to the courts, and that played into Major League Baseball's decision to place him on he's on the commissioner's exempt list, and then he had a 1-year suspension, and now he's not getting re-signed. I mean, you know as well as I do that if Major League Baseball thought this dude was worth the trouble, they would bring him in, right? If there was no legal ramifications, if they could do it, they totally would. And every team in Major League Baseball has done the cost-benefit analysis of, we think Trevor Bauer probably sucks. He's probably not a very good teammate, so you're going to bring him into a locker room. The vibes are not going to be good. No one is enjoying Trevor Bauer as their coworker. The fans are going to be pissed. They're not going to want to come to the games. It's going to be negative ramifications. I just got to say, in everything I've ever heard about Trevor Bauer, nothing really makes me feel that bad for him in this scenario. I mean, this chick should go to jail too, but I don't feel a ton of sympathy really for Trevor Bauer at all.
Do you feel like, it's a lot different than in the 70s and 80s? Guys were vilified for using drugs. They were like Steve Howe, Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. You could go on and on. The Pirates, Greeny scandal when they were all eating uppers. And baseball had a pill popping problem. Back then, you were vilified. Like nobody wanted you around if you were some cokehead on the team. And now, look how crazy it is, how different it is now. So this guy has kinky sex with a chick or two, and his life, and now he's like, you would think he was a murderer. You would think he's a serial killer. The way they treat him, you would think this guy was Jack the Ripper. But back in the day, they'd let Steve Howe back on the team 15 times, and he was doing kilos of blow. But a guy has kinky sex, and his life is destroyed. I mean, destroyed. I won't deny what you say is palpable and true, but isn't it amazing how back in the day, like Keith Hernandez, all of them, they were all doing drugs and no one cared. But when Pete Rose gambled on baseball, he's ruined for life. And other people do the same things now and nothing happens to them.
Yeah, I mean, look, it really is a signal of how times have changed. Someone gets accused of what Trevor Bauer did in 1970. I mean, look, no one blinks. No one blinks, right? It just life would have continued. And someone who is guilty of a drug offense now, mostly what we find out is like if you smoke some weed, I mean, I guess I don't know how many high profile hard drug cases we've had, but most of the time people end up getting mad at the leagues. Like remember the whole Josh Gordon deal with weed? Like people were mad at the league, not mad at Josh Gordon. People were mad at the league. So yeah, it really is an indication of how times have changed.
Well, and everything, like even in the UFC, they let them smoke weed now, but they don't have a problem with all of them juicing.
Right.
Not only do they juice, but they got rid of WADA. They got rid of the drug testing agency and started their own. That, there's nothing quite like having your own people drug test you when no one ever fails a drug test because you run the drug testing. That is the most corrupt thing I've seen in sports in the last 10 years is how they just look right over anyone that's juicing. I mean, honestly, I don't care what anybody says. That whole thing is lit. I mean, the whole thing's a bottle of juice. It's orange juice. It literally fresh squeezed orange juice. All right, let me ask you about your plays tonight. Let's get into something more positive here. See what you do to me? You turn me into a criminal defense attorney over here on this show. Constantly doing that to me, Davis. What is your deal? All right, Sixers tonight with the Heat. What do you got going?
Yeah, look, man, Joel Embiid, one of the 3 best basketball players on the planet. He's healthy. He's good to go. Is he going to stay healthy for the whole playoffs, Scotty? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but he is healthy tonight. The Heat just really, I mean, look, a 208 over under in 2024, insane. But I think the 76ers do handle business in this one. We'll see what ends up happening with the Heat next week, but the 76ers are going to handle business here.
And you think the second game is going to be rather exciting and a lot of buckets?
I don't know how exciting it's going to be, but I do think they are going to trade some buckets. The Hawks play this super small lineup. It's a bad matchup against the Bulls. Trae Young and Dejounte Murray, I think, are going to be able to get to their spots against Caruso and Kobe White in a way that a lot of backcourts are not. But like Trae Young, you can say a lot about him, Scotty, and a lot of it's true. But one thing that is true about that dude is that dude gets buckets. I like a good performance from him tonight, and I do like the over on 222 here in the 9-10 Eastern Conference play-in game.
I like your baseball plays. Let's start with the Guardians.
Yeah, I just kind of have a rule that anytime one of these mediocre to bad pitchers for the Boston Red Sox, Whitlock, Howe, Cutter Crawford, when they're catching more than 25 cents, I'm going the other way. Not that I'm a huge Guardians believer, but I think this Red Sox team, especially the pitching, is pretty overrated.
I'm with you, and on top of that, the Red Sox stink. Apparently, like watch them every day; they get worse. I think their opening West Coast trip was a facade. All right, so this other game I love. So check it out. Earlier today, when they were down 2-1 early on in that game in Chicago, I said to Carver, I still like the Royals in Game 1 to come back and win. They're up 4-2 right now in the bottom of the ninth. They came back and passed the White Sox, and I like your thinking for Game 2.
Yep. No rest, no quarter for the worst team in baseball, the Chicago White Sox. I think that the White Sox should enter every game like plus 190. Underdogs, the Royals are a much better team. Michael Wacha is fine. Eric Fetty is terrible. We are on the Royals money line tonight, minus 160.
And in other news, Chris Bryant is injured again in Colorado, and Yu Darvish is injured in the Padres rotation with neck tightness. So they're both going on the IL. Davis Maddock, my man, enjoy the games tonight.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We talked about the Ohtani story. This interpreter, Ipe, clearly was a problem gambler. I mean, he would be identified as that and beyond. Now, there are a lot of others that are out there.
The timing didn't seem great. It seemed slightly tone deaf in terms of, maybe now isn't the time to say it. But the sentiment itself, you have to agree with. There's only so much a sports betting company can do, right?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Boy, if you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals, saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina come back, take the lead, and then somehow Alabama punches back. A true classic. Like, the word classic gets tossed around loosely a lot, but that really was a true classic.
Great point earlier about Arizona. They had such an advantage under the basket, yet they're having guys just chuck threes. Their whole game plan sucked from the get-go. Like, the fact that they lost that game, I put a lot of it on coaching.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka
is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
All right, so Willie Green is blaming the refs for his team losing.
I don't know if I'd go so far as blaming the refs for the game, but Willie Green did learn a lesson last night, Scotty, against the Lakers, and that is when you're playing the Lakers in the playoffs, you ain't getting the calls. I don't care who you got down low. Here's Willie Green.
You guys kind of had a complete 180, and you were the one who dominated the Lakers in the paint, yet they almost shot twice as many free throws as you. Just talk about how you think about the physicality of the game was not what called, without getting in trouble.
I don't feel like we've gotten a great whistle all season.
Oh,
that's how I feel when I watch the games. We're one of the teams that dominate the paint night in and night out. We have a physical dominant force in Zion, along with others, and it just seems like we're not getting those calls.
Honestly, did you hear what this guy just said? He said he didn't get a call the whole season.
All year. Not just last night. All year. He didn't get the whistle. So.
I mean, that's, probably another reason why no one knows him or has ever heard of him or why he doesn't matter at all.
Willie. They'll get ready for the Kings, of course. Zion did score 40, Scotty. He left the game with 3 minutes to go. Zion really was the one who got him back in that game. I mean, he was a monster in that second half. But again, leaves the game with the hamstring injury, and he's not going to play now on Friday night. Like, I mean, when does it stop, Scotty? He's so exciting to watch, but he's made of glass. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know what to say after a 40 burger and he lands and pop goes the weasel, the hammy goes. I think it's unlucky for sure. Again, I'm going to say it. He's a brilliant player. He's just unstoppable. He goes right at Anthony Davis, right down his throat. He is afraid of no one, and he just does whatever he wants when he has the ball and drives to the 10. I love his game. I've heard enough about how fat he is and out of shape he is. It's all nonsense. The reality is he's a monster, and he popped his hamstring, and he's not lying. The guy had 40. He would have won the game maybe by himself. He might have had 50 in that game. He left with like 3-some minutes left, 4 minutes left, whatever it was. And I'm telling you, he knew he had popped it. You could see it in his face. And he was very upset that he had to go to the room and the whole deal. I do not blame him for anything. In fact, the reason why they were in the game was only one tier. It was him. He's the only reason they were in the game.
He certainly was.
How about how they don't play Ingram? Why don't they play Ingram?
I guess I think he's banged up too, from what it sounds like, right? Because why was he not on the floor for the final few minutes of that game, especially after Zion went out? Because what does Ingram do, Scotty? I know he's not great defensively, but he's buckets. Like, he gets you buckets, and they needed buckets. So that it was very. And I saw a report today along with the Zion. Zion's out, and they said probably limited from Ingram again. So clearly there's some injury concerns for him.
They're in trouble
as well.
on Friday night.
I think they're in trouble too. Now, they've beaten the Kings up in all these games that they've played with them, but this is a whole nother animal. As we know, the Kings beat the Warriors last night, 118-94. We talked yesterday about how they didn't have Herter, they didn't have Monk. You know, they lost a little bit of that outside shooting that they normally bring. Well, it helps when Keegan Murray is going to go and hit 8 threes like he did last night. Here's the 7th one on TNT.
Ellis looking for Sabonis. No, he'll kick it to Lyles.
In the corner is Keegan Murray. Big shot for Murray.
That's great when they go, Keegan Murray. It's awesome. Great crowd. I think they can actually go on the road and win in New Orleans.
I think that they can do that as well. I'm going to give you some numbers for that in a moment. I told you I wanted to finish the Steph Curry stuff off. This is him after the game last night. Of course, possibly no more Clay. They gave Draymond money last year, but I'm sure that there's people maybe who would like to get out from underneath that. Here is Steph Curry saying that he can't imagine playing without Klay Thompson and Draymond Green.
I can never see myself, not with those two guys. I understand this league changes and there's so many things that go into it, and we're not going to play forever, but, we've experienced so much together, and at the end of the day, again, I know they want to win, I know I want to win, and that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, but you don't win anymore, and that's with them, and it's time to crack the egg. It's time to get rid of them. That's it. They have to change, or they're going to be devoured by change. You understand? The whole league's changing around them, and they're just going to stick. You know what this reminds me of? This is a perfect example. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins. They signed Malkin and Letang and Carlson, all these old guys that are finished. And they signed them to new deals for 3 years each, and they can't make the playoffs. And the Warriors keeping these bums, it's over. Klay Thompson doesn't matter anymore. He had 0 points last night. He tore his Achilles. He tore his knee. He's never been the same player again. Oh, he's had his 25 and 35-point nights. Fair enough. When you can shoot as good as that guy can shoot, you can have nights like that. But he doesn't have many of those anymore. He's been benched. They are not winning with this current rendition. It's over. And you know what? I know Curry has all the juice because he's the mega superstar on that team. Everyone else, I think, is open season to be dealt. Everyone else. And I'm going to repeat it for the 5 millionth time. I cannot believe for a million years that Steve Kerr wants to be a part of this. I can't even believe it. Because you know what he's going to do? He's just going to collect a check and keep losing. It doesn't matter. He was a great coach. And now look at him. He doesn't win anything. And now he's going to go win a gold medal with this. You know what? I'll tell you another thing. This Olympic team of ours is so old, they make me look young. Honestly, this team is the whole team's 40 years old. Every single guy's had a debilitating injury, every one of them to a man. The entire team it's Granny and Grandpa. That's what they should call our Olympic basketball team. Everyone talks about how loaded it is. Yeah, loaded with AARP cards.
A lot of older guys making their last run to the Olympics for the
Have
Team
fun
USA.
against all those young teams from around the world. They're going to run them out of the building.
This isn't in 90. This isn't like 92 where they were playing teams.
But they think it is.
Were awful. They think it is. They certainly do. I was going to say this to you about Steph. He's got 2 years left, and he makes he's got one of the highest cap hits in the league. It's 55 next year and 59 the year after that. So obviously money makes it extremely difficult. But if I was him, Scotty, I'd have a long thought about how he wants to spend the last 2 to 4 years of his career in this league. And I've seen people suggest that maybe he would want to go and finish his career at home in Charlotte with the Hornets. That's not for me. That's not for him either. He wants to go out a winner. And I feel like there's a place, and this isn't me doing fans of because I hate this team, but I feel like there's a place where he's already got a Hall of Fame legacy. If he ever went there and they won, that would really stamp him as one of the greatest of all time. And that would be if he finished his career at the Garden in New York City.
Oh, God.
And that would be if he finished his career there.
Brunson is the point guard and the two guard.
bringing a championship back to the Knicks, who have been starved for one for 50 plus years, I feel like that would be the cherry on top for Steph Curry's career if he went and did that. Now, I know he's never leaving the Warriors.
Yeah.
Jordan was never leaving the Bulls. And all these other guys were never leaving all these other places they were at. It happens all the time.
Happens.
I think he should think about it. That's all I'm saying. He should think about it.
I don't have a problem. That's a great idea. And I'll tell you another one. I would trade the entire team except Wembanyama for Steph Curry. And then I would trade every single player on the roster, 11 guys, make it 10, so they'd still have 2 guys. They'd have Wembanyama and they'd have Steph Curry, and they'd win. He'd shoot.
Probably
the other guy
would.
does everything else, and no one would beat him. Can you imagine if he played with that kid, what would happen? Because that guy's taking over the NBA, and the rest of them, including Steph, are getting old. And can you imagine he's playing in his first Olympics and he's going to be 37 years old? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah, a lot of these guys have skipped it. They've had nothing to do with it, that's for sure. Here's the numbers for Friday.
One other thing, timeout. I got 4 left.
You got
you
got it.
Here's a question for you. When 2 months of NBA playoffs are finished, how are the bodies going to be of that old man roster going to Paris in a month later? So they're done in mid-June, and you're going to have ravaged bodies. They're going to bang and get tore up and injured. I guarantee you that roster changes between now and July in Paris, because there's no way that group of 12 old geezers is all going to Paris. No way. Because I'll bet 5 of them get injured in the NBA playoffs. We saw Zion go down last night in 5 seconds. You think these guys every one of these guys has had a debilitating injury. Every one of them. Except LeBron, I guess. But he's had tons of injuries too.
When they named Kawhi as the 12th guy,
right?
And he's like, and in this talk, he's not even going to, is he going to play for the Clippers in these games? Well, I think it's going to be, because I think what they're doing for Kawhi is they're giving him a free trip to Paris to sit on the bench. He was named to the team, but he's not going to play. He'll get the medal if they win, and they'll name a replacement, and that'll be Jalen Brunson probably. And other guys will as well, like you just said. Guys that get banged up throughout the playoffs, they'll add other pieces.
I think internationally it's a little different with the 12 in terms of the rotations. I believe Curry will play all 12 guys. All 12 will play for the USA. It will not be 7 or 6 like in an NBA season.
I'm just saying they put him on the team, but he'll go out. No, but he won't play, as in terms of not that he'll be dressed. I mean, they'll say he's injured and we named a replacement. So that way he still technically was on the team. Yeah. He'll get all the perks of being on the team, but he won't actually play. And then the guy they replace him with which will be Brunson. That's what will happen. My prediction, next 3 months between now and the Olympics for Kawhi. All right, so there you go. Here's the numbers for Friday night. Sacramento 1.5-point favorites in New Orleans against the Pelicans.
Yeah, I like the over 214. I didn't like it when it was 223 last night, whatever it was, in that game at what was it? The first game was that. Yep. The Lakers game was like 223. It didn't even come close to that. So I think this Kings-Pelicans game will go over, and I think the Kings will win and cover the 1.5.
There you go. Pelicans have handled them this year. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that for them on Friday night. All right, we'll come back.
And the injuries last night. Your boy rolled both ankles. Zion is out. Listen, have fun dealing with Fox and Sabonis and Murray and this team. Have fun.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's time for another exciting edition of Today in Carver High History.
It certainly is. We'll start in 1976 today. After trailing 12-1, the Philadelphia Phillies complete the greatest National League comeback by eventually beating the Cubs 18-16 in 10 innings as Mike Schmidt hits 4 consecutive homers. Let's go.
Here's Mike Schmidt. He's playing. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. How about that? That's got to be a record. First pitch. And Mike Schmidt has drilled his 4th straight home run.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Deep into the radio archives for that one. With Mike, we love the old baseball radio calls on this day in Carver High history. 1981, Islanders forward Denny Potvin ties an NHL record by scoring 3 power play goals in one game against the Edmonton Oilers. Honestly. 83, Nolan Ryan strikes out his 3,500th batter. 83, the Islanders tie the NHL record with 3 shorthanded playoff goals against the Rangers. That team was no joke.
Tonight they'll have 3 shorthanded goals and 3 power play goals against the Penguins, who folded up shop.
84, Braves pitcher Pascual Perez is suspended due to cocaine use. That's frowned upon. 87, Julius Erving becomes just the 3rd NBA or ABA player to score 30,000 points in their career. 97, Devils goalie Martin Brodeur becomes just the 2nd goalie to score a goal in a playoff game. 99, the Cleveland Browns select Kentucky quarterback Tim Couch with the number 1 overall pick. That one did not go well. 2021, Sharks forward Patrick Marleau ties Gordie Howe's NHL record for most regular season games played at 1,767. There you go. this day in Carver High history.
Denny Potvin, 3 power play goals. And wasn't that the team that eventually beat them, Edmonton? They had won 4 in a row and then lost Edmonton?
Yes, that eventually did happen, unfortunately.